Good morning, everybody. I call this hearing to order. My name is Troy Hawk, and I am one of the legal counsels for the Nebraska Department of Education. I will be the presiding officer conducting the hearing virtually today, June 2nd, 2025, using Zoom on the proposed revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 15, otherwise known as Rule 15, Regulations and Procedures for English Learner Programs in Nebraska Public Schools. The legal notice for the hearing was published in the Omaha World Herald on May 2nd, 2025. To begin the hearing on Rule 15, a Nebraska Department of Education staff member, Julie Otero, will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony by interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to state and spell your first and last name and provide a general indication of where you live. The city, county, or school district is sufficient. State a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the board to take, and state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. You may reinforce, but please refrain from repeating previous testimony. Each person testifying will be limited to 5 minutes, and I will have a timer running. If additional time is needed, it may be provided at the discretion of the presiding officer. At the conclusion of all testimony from interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony presented today, which will conclude the testimony. The testimony presented is being recorded, and the audio recording will be made available to the State Board of Education and the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of this rule later this week. All written testimony, comments, materials, and documents must be received by email prior to 5 p.m. today, or be postmarked with a date that is no later than today in order to be made a part of the record of this hearing. The email for submitting written testimony, comments, materials, and documents is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. That's nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. And that email address is also in the chat box of this recording. The mailing address is the Nebraska Department of Education, Attention, Rules and Regulations, P.O. Box 94987, Lincoln, Nebraska 68509-4987. Both of these addresses may be found in the comments section for this hearing. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 15, Regulations and Procedures for English Learner Programs in Nebraska Public Schools, with Julie Otero from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Julie, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Julie Otero, Julieotero, and I represent the federal programs, specifically in this case, Title III. So to be compliant with the recently approved Nebraska ESSA plan, Section 007.01B of Rule 15, it needs to be changed for the exit requirements of students to exit the English language program. And the reason for this change is because Nebraska now offers ELPA 21 summative and alt ELPA domain exemptions for students who cannot access a domain due to a disability. The previous ability to exit the English learner programs due to a verified disability is not authorized under ESSA. With some suggested changes, the rule will read as follows. Each school district shall require a student in grades K-12 to receive a score of proficient on the annual state English language proficiency assessments to exit the language instruction educational program. So the last revisions to Title 92 Nebraska Code, Chapter 15, also known as Rules and Regulations for English Learner Program in Nebraska Public Schools, was approved by the State Board of Education, and it became effective in May of 2018. In March of 2025, the Rules and Regulations Committee of the State Board of Education discussed the policy issues of the need for the additional revisions to Rule 15. That is the end of my testimony. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, I would ask if there are any comments, but I see nobody on the call that doesn't work for either the legal department or as Julie. So I see no requests for oral testimony at this time. So Julie, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I just appreciate the help through this process from Tammy's office.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Tammy and Deborah, for all of your help, and thank you, Julie, for testifying. This closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 15 and closes the hearings for the day. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.